Fortnite fan, welcome back to the Reload Elite series. Game number 2 is done, and man, it was a crazy game to say the least. We got a victory out from Enough and Salt. Sphinx couldn't quite get the finish there for the Siphon, but you know, second place is still awesome. Now remember, right before the break we said 105 points. Where does that place the duo? Was we bring up the leaderboard, guess what? They're actually currently in second place. Ooh. Because Acorn and Bolt have somehow taken over first place. Game number 1, third place, 6 elims. Game number 2, a 5th with 7. You know, Viv, this is Acorn and Bolts we are talking about, right? If there's anyone that can climb the leaderboard, that can put the leaderboard on notice, it's them.
Listen, obviously these guys are capable of doing anything. They're, you know, 2 of the best players on the region, but to see them actually be the team in first place in terms of, obviously they're in first place on the leaderboard as well, but on the back foot of that, it's just the eliminations as well. And you can take a look at it right here. It's just all on the back foot of Bolts. Their first game was going to be 6 eliminations, third place. That second game right there, 5th place with 7 eliminations. So the eliminations right now for the duo, when we're kind of used to just seeing the consistency factor for whatever duo Acorn is a part of, the fact that they're finding the frags right now, super scary for the rest of the lobby.
And this is what happens when you have that veteran IGL experience that Acorn has with the fragging capability of Bolts. They're here with something to prove. Like we said, they want that EWC spot. They can't see themselves not qualifying. So, you know, they're popping off. First place, 119 points. Like Vivid said, top of the elims leaderboard too.
They're taking destiny into their own hands, right? Another duo we saw there. We kind of talked about a little bit in 6th place. Up 10 spots. Muzz and Sphinx. We saw Sphinx had the solo clutch there. And look, even though he didn't get the VR, he still hit a 2nd place as a solo. Given how chaotic these games can be, that's still a bunch of plays.
When Reload, anyone can.
Oh yeah, 100%. Obviously, these guys already qualified. So, you know, no matter what happens today, they're going to be happy. But obviously, they're still going to want to place well, right? Kind of compete for some of that prize money. And this has been a duo, actually. We saw it in the first game. We see it in the second game. Consistently kind of fighting for the low ground, finding themselves into the mix. And right now, it's obviously working.
Yeah, and Sphinx literally just a millisecond off of winning this game. If he would have got that Siphon onto Salt, but unfortunately the Storm took him out. Still an amazing game. 7 elimination, 2nd place. A very good follow-up game to their first, which was only a 16, pushing them up to 7th place.
And so close. That Siphon would have made the difference. It's all good though. It's all good. That was just the first 2 games. We have 6 more to go. So casters, prepare ourselves for game number 3.
I do think that game was very telling, because when we started the show, we were looking at 7 teams in focus, but then all of a sudden, I Am Enough and Salt kind of throw their name in the mix. There's always that team that can be the disruptor, Jacob, and that's what we're seeing here now.
Yeah, already 2 games have showed that high ground, no matter what zone it is, never seems to be safe. We know Acorn and Bolts go for it. We saw them almost get it, but unfortunately it's Enough and Salt that are pulling off. And I said it to start the show, 2026, year of the underdogs. Just as Salt and Enough are gonna have to hold on. Game 3 is ready. Let's see if they can do it.
All right, Jacob, this is the last qualifier. These games go by pretty quickly, but those points jump up even faster. If you blink, you missed it, because all of a sudden now we have Acorn and Bolt holding the crown here, and all they have to do is maintain that lead. You know, my biggest highlight for them was obviously that they played so well at the LAN. All things considering, they are clearly one of the stronger duos in the lobby, and this reload mode is just playing into their favor. But give that a second. Jump in with Higgs here. Back to back now, losing to Dozier on the drop this time. Not as many other teams in the mix here as Muzz and Sphinx have decided to mix things up themselves. No Agers either. That was kind of a crazy game 2 drop there.
Going to show that sometimes the early game antics may not necessarily always be the best decision. You see Jack in the feed taking down Rapid. Bolts straying far away from his actual drop spot along with Acorn. There's a lot of space there, so no necessarily too much to worry about, but he's inching closer and closer to Salt and Enough, who's currently the 2nd place team, right behind they themselves, who's in first. He's ready to take a full-on fight, but a lot of that damage going on to Bolt, and it's not slowing down anytime soon, but back-to-back shots. The Sentinel pump is going to take down Salt, and you already see he has 1 upgrade on that More Fight Sentinel, looking for another.
just a statement elimination. Bolts, take a look from his perspective. What all was happening here? He had already picked up an Elam right before this, then finds Agers, then hunts down Salt there,
And
but unfortunately the momentum jump in and they earn themselves a few points. You can see I am enough there in the distance, just waiting. Peterbot though, thinking about hunting him down. Yeah, they had the marker almost perfectly there, Jacob.
Yeah, just knowing exactly where he's at, hearing all the noise, seeing the fights, and now you see they basically get almost a fully upgraded more fight Sentinel there if they do want it. But the action's not slowing down. Jack was able to get that first elimination of the game, I do believe, onto Rapid. Now they get their possible second one onto Vert next. Sales, you kind of see him on the outskirts, just trying to stay alive. 12 seconds is all he needs to get Vert back in the game.
You gotta give Jack and Boji their respect. They continuously show up in fun eliminations here. They haven't quite earned the placement points is deserving of them, but they definitely have had their fair share of good fights go in their favor. Jumping back to Neo and Noisy though, this is a team that has been consistent all around, but Noisy has to stay alive here and now. Booga and Braids have a chance here to actually send his team back to the lobby if they can find them sooner rather than later, but they're giving him a little too much time to recoup here. Get situated. Booga trying to move in to support Braids here for the Elam. There's so much to pick from because Braids somehow held this all down by himself, by the way. And Neo and Noisy, you have to think about it, playing phenomenally well when it comes to these early game fights.
Yeah, and I know we talk about the loophole all the time, the mythic drum gun. You don't want to end up in the box with Braids. He's going to spray through just like that. Noisy's going to go down. Braids not taking a single scratch, and you can kind of see why they weren't getting aggressive at first. Booga wasn't necessarily there. Neo had respawn. I saw on the mini-map that Booga was toying with the idea of maybe chasing him off, but with the new cutting the mechanic glider of that, it's much harder to take these people out of the sky if there's trees and different terrains into the mix. But Northern Caliper, no strangers to finals either. I do believe they had a top 10 performance in one of the qualifiers, just unfortunately fell a little too short. But it's all experience at the end of the day, especially now that they picked up that elimination on the 20.
Very nice Elam there. Caliper kind of looking off in the distance, trying to figure out what he wants to do to support this fight here. Chimp's looking for an angle. Northern has his vision a bit blocked there by the trees, so not exactly excited with the prospect of finishing the fight on the layer that he was on. But look at this, even as Chimp's teammate ends up loading back in, he gets taken out immediately. So this is a desperate situation to be in. Northern doesn't even realize, neither does Caliper realize that Chimp is by himself. Either way though, he manages to somehow sneak out of there. 20 gets back in the game. They have a chance though to still stay in this game and hopefully bounce back here shortly.
Yeah, it's just having Chimp and 20 reunite is going to be tough, because I talked about, you know, when you go down, you get rebooted, you spawn right above your teammate. Well, if you're in zone, you spawn inside of the zone, not necessarily outside it, so 20 is not going to have too much of a chance to try to close the gap and get back to Chimp, especially more so now, went from one team hunting to a second, which is Peterbot and Pollo, and you know how they play. They make sure they clean up every single scrap, and there goes the elimination onto Chimp. I will say there is a silver lining though, Monster, because it's going to better the chances of Chimp and 20 finally being able to reunite once he gets rebooted back in the game.
Yeah, definitely. They're going to get both sent back to the storm line. But Peterbot and Pollo, their timing impeccable right now, as they've shown up time and time again here to find teams just in desperation and shambles. See what Salt ends up managing to make happen there as he's on the outskirts. On over to Rise and Curly here. Just taking the pick of the litter here for the loadouts. They found some leftover loot. And they go on the tails of Boji and Jack here. Nice little angle there for Jack. Puts on a good amount of damage onto Curly, actually. Not bad for being that far back. And Rise also takes a fair amount of damage here too. So Jack and Boji putting him on the back foot here in this fight.
Yeah, very good damage on Rise and Curly initially. Separating them for a few seconds. Unfortunately, with the numbers game 2v1, that opportunity goes right out the window. They're unable to capitalize. It's going to allow for Rise and Curly to try to shockwave away, but from one team to another, they run into Rapid and Cold on the other side, so things will not get any easier for Rise and Curly. You see they're burning through their materials here, just trying to stay alive, but I will say the focus have switched just a little bit from Boji and Jack, trying to target out Rise and Curly. They do land some damage on the Rapid instead.
It's just like a crazy fight going down now. It just went from like, all right, nice little 2v2 to, wait a second, this is pretty messy now. Cold and Rapid want to get their get back as well. They've taken a little too much damage here, and this is actually costing everyone a fair bit. Not to mention there was just an airdrop landing there, which Ryzen and Curly, I believe, took advantage of. So those extra white heals fall into their favor. They get the fresh shockwaves, and they're off basically as the winners of this exchange somehow, where Cold and Rapid end up being the ones that fall way behind. As I don't think they had the same type of whites, but look at this. Peterbot, Boyo, they found Chimp before. Seems like they find him again, and they're just farming him for points at this time. Meanwhile, Boyo gets Agers as well, and I mean, they are just racking up. They're making up for that game one miss.
Yeah, and it's just unfortunate because we've seen them take out Bolts, we've seen them take out Aegis. Peterbot Hoyo, just like 3 other teams, already have their spot secured. So they're essentially playing Disruptor and not letting any free plays go down as Acorn gets attacked, 43 HP, trying to stay alive over towards Lead Experiment. There's a whole nother duo up above that is going to be Cold and Rapid hunting for these eliminations. And honestly, Cold and Rapid haven't had the best start to this game here. So they're still probably fighting for a loadout that they feel confident taking with them to the end game.
Yeah, most definitely. Just a single elim, even all that scrappy battling back and forth here. Only one elim to show for it. Econ and Bolts, though, holding down their own here. Meanwhile, Josh and Yamso listening to all this go down. They are actually the gatekeepers of the edge of the storm here. Now, I'm thinking if they knew what teams it were, they wouldn't even be moving this soon here, but even if they get to the next zone early, they'll still have a lot of visuals here to look back in onto these teams here. So we'll see how it ends up playing out. Muzz and Sphinx once again early in the storm here, finding themselves somewhat out of position, but look at this, it's not for no reason. You were waiting for Noisy. We can't even see the tax going down there, but Muzz ends up finishing the deal there.
Yeah, Muzz and Sphinx, you guys are wondering what they're doing here at Elite Armory. Not every drop spot has this benefit, but they do have launch pads around their drop spot. You see them in their inventory. They're tossing them further and further back the zone. And I know you're wondering, what is that crazy? No, they're throwing it closer and closer towards their launch pad. So when it does get to the 5th zone, when it does get to the 6th zone, they're going to use that fizz, use the launch pad and med kit before, so they can safely rotate away from all these teams that we've seen already kind of, I wouldn't call it zone camping, but overstaying their welcome for sure. Just like Acorn and Bolts, they take down, I believe, both Noxy and Mason, and that's going to be our first team out of the game.
Really tell these teams are starting to heat up now. 5 elims this pretty much early into the game, right? We're only zone 6, not even close to what we've seen for the stacked zone war looking end games. So quite a distance to go, but teams are starting to rack up some serious points here.
Game 3, have a good game here for Enough and Salt. Start to build that cushion, back-to-back end games. Kind of see they're only up by 1 though against Cold and Rapid, a team that they don't even have to necessarily worry about in terms of qualifying for EWC. Below them you have Josh and Yamso on 90 points, another team that they don't have to necessarily worry about. So as long as Enough and Salt play consistent games, they might not even need high elimination games like we have seen some of the other teams go for.
Yeah, they're really being carried by their placement points right now. Well, look at this, RPG in hand for Queasy. Not a lot of ammunition though to work with the shotgun, but there's plenty here. So we're starting to look at the zone though. This is starting to look like most of the teams have already made their rotates in.
Yeah, a few late rotations still coming in the backside of the zone, but you can see why everybody's playing so safe. 6th zone, moving into the 7th, which means this is the stage of the game that reboots will turn off. So even though there's about 30 seconds left, you don't want to go down here, especially where the zone currently is. You might be able to fall down into chiseled cubes, but if the zone moves over towards the eastern side of the map, good luck getting out.
Burton Sales got some serious eyes on a few duos here. Like their positioning probably the most right now is their dead center as well here. Just waiting for this next zone to pop here. Get to see it reveal together. Here comes the next big moving play here. Already though, teams are starting to get a move on it. It's going west and south now, just outside the Chisel Cube. Peterbot Boya going with the early crash pad here from the outskirts. Trying to be one of the first to get up and into this positioning here for the high ground. I wonder if they're going to go for it and really kind of hold it down, but maybe not after losing all this material here. This is costing them a fair bit. Peterbot even giving them a little bit of extra room to work with here on the backside there, just as a safety retreat measure.
Kind of that double-edged sword of rotating early. Peterbot and Pollo doing just that, because you see Chisel Cube, basically the Grand Canyon with how much space they have underneath, but huge mountain ranges on each and every side. So you want to be one of the first teams up the hill, allow you to look back, be a little bit more comfortable on this rotation. Curve and Higgs basically having to wait for other teams to rotate by. That's Josh and Yamzo, but somehow they overtake them with that shockwave on that rotation. And this is why I'm thinking up the side of this hill, quick, fast, in a hurry should be the name of the game, because as soon as you get there, you have the luxury of being able to look back.
Yeah, definitely want to get in position. This is what Peterbot and Boyer were trying to accomplish. They did it a little too early. It seems like the team with the best positioning was Cold and Rapid before Peterbot and Boyer actually just landed on top of their base and took the high ground. Already starting to flex up their positioning here. Cold and Rapid can, in theory, edit this down, but probably won't be worth it given how low they are right now. Oh, this is a terrible rotate for them too.
Yeah, majority of the lobby does get a little bit of a max pull here, so it's all about how you play the hand that you're dealt. For Golden Rapid, quick damage, make them box up. Allow for one less team to tag you as you make that rotation over, but you see Golden Rapid quickly separated, having to utilize another shockwave. And while all that's going down, Bolts and Acorn can do nothing but watch Peterbot and Pollo start to build towards that high ground. It's been game after game after game, they're going for it. And right now, Bolts and Acorn, instead of being distracted by that, they find that elimination onto Vert. It's only a knock though, so his teammate is still in the game.
Yeah, barely there. But either way, that was like a nice little refresher. You know, he didn't have much. They only got about 200-300 material count off that, but it's still plenty to keep them nice and capped now. So Bolts and Acorn are set up really pretty here. 6 elims as well, so pretty much a really good momentum-driven game so far for them. Braids and Booga still have that mythic drum in hand as well. Very dangerous loadout there. Jumping back to Bolts and Acorn. Look at this, elevating themselves up and over the lip here. Adding pressure. I am enough and salt nearby. You gotta be careful not to overexpose themselves. Bolts can make a play at any moment here. Acorn goes into the storm, trying to play for those mats there. They're just trying to keep themselves completely capped off here. They'll likely be going for a big high ground play. We'll keep eyes on them, but Peterbot and Pollo are the team to look out for right now.
Yeah, you can see them even kind of like chopping off one direction as the zone pulls back in the other. Pollo getting another elimination, 6-1 up the game, playing catch up, playing it perfectly. Spot out Higgs, curve rotating over, good damage there. But instead of shockwaving on over, you see he has the grappler instead. He uses that to get to the front side and try to connect. And this is where Pollo is going to stay back, try to make sure nobody flanks for free, letting Peterbot do exactly what he wants on the front side of the zone.
Yeah, it looks like Yamzo took down Rapid as well there, so already dismantling starting to take place here. Buzz and Sphinx still sitting at 2 elims right now. Not on the low ground as we've seen them in the previous game, so game 3 playing a little bit different here. We'll see if they end up switching things up and pretty much committing up to the mid layers. Higgs and Curve back to the original strategy, playing to the ultimate low sides. Let's see a quick movement here. A lot of pressure coming in from Peterbot and Pollo up top, and Sphinx Muzz getting greedy here as they continue to inch their way up. But I think the high ground team already knows what these guys are thinking here.
Yep, and everybody else just trying to go ahead and use that launch pad. Threads visuals, ritual agers. They have the option to try to land on high ground, especially if they're distracted just like that. But they're just going to try to find their spot safely in that mid layer. Queasy and Scare, same thing, but they're taking a lot of pressure from all angles. But they're working their way up the side of that mountain. Scare goes up, tries to contest. Shockwave coming out from Pollo, trying to play defensively. Stop them from pushing up higher and higher. But Queasy is not giving up. There's good damage onto both Peterbot and Pollo here. They could go down in just one shot, but it looks like Queasy and Scare are going to concede that height.
Yeah, it's crazy because as good as Queasy may be, a champion level player, when you're going against Peterbot and Pollo on their region, you just get to see the difference. You can see they will do what they want, especially in a 2-on-2 for height, but he goes back for it again. He just can't put his ego aside, and ooh, they end up paying
to
for
take,
it.
so.
But in the end, they do trade out Pollo there too, as Salt and I Am Enough
One push.
take advantage of the chaos there as well. And once again, their timing is incredible. They are the team with the high ground here, and they're looking to go for back-to-backs.
Yeah, that's the second game in the row. They take high ground while they're fighting it out. Peter, Pollo, Queasy, Scare, but it's Enough and Salt that are going to be the last one standing up above. But on this mid layer, you got Bolts going crazy. 5 eliminations, 2 more for Acor. We know
Hit the butt
how
out.
big Acor can go in the tightest of moments, but Bolts right now is being eaten alive by the zone. Braids and Booga down below. They're controlling the whole tempo, but they're running out of builds. That could be their downfall here.
Yeah, I want to see what Yams is up to. I just keep seeing him pop in the feed as well. Muzz and Sphinx now at 5 elims. The last time we checked in, they had 2. So things are starting to rack up for them as well. Nice little side skirt rotate right there. Muzz just reading his zone perfectly there as he's going up and over this slight little mountain play here. Meanwhile, Salt and Enough just have full control here. No pressure in sight. Not a team situated to really contest them here and now. And they're just doing what they want with the lobby here. And then AJ comes off from the side. Great tag there from Agers. But it's Booga, it's Braids here. They still have that mythical drum. Can they put it to work? There's the Yamzo. That's who I wanted to see. And he's the disruptor here.
Yeah, Booga goes down.
Nice.
Braids going back and forth. Finds that big elim on the Yamzo. Siphon's huge, keeping him alive as he's forced outside the zone. Meanwhile, they're focused on the Braids. That's going to allow for Agers to safely heal up in this position. Enough and Salt, they have relentless pressure on the backside of zone. And they go back to back with 9 eliminations. Blake was talking to him. I don't know what exactly he said, but it must have been good.
Yeah, he must have gave him a nice little pep talk, some words of motivation and encouragement, because 9 eliminations, back-to-back wins, a strong game 1, and they're the true disruptors of the qualifier right now. No one saw them coming, but now we all know they are here. I mean, Zeke, at this point, you got to give me your thoughts on them.
Blake, what did you tell them? Blake, what did you tell?
Hey.
What did you tell them?
I don't want to take credit for anything, but you know, I was talking to Salt. He said they were going up for height, and he meant it, because back-to-back wins. It's his first EWC finals, and he's got back-to-back wins in the first 3 games. Vivid. I don't even know what to say.
I mean, yeah, these guys are just playing way too good right now. It's just on the back foot of them timing the higher ground retakes way better than anybody else. We kind of saw them flying up in the sky, and it was timed so well because we were like, oh my gosh, look at this. It's Queasy and Scare versus Peterbot and Pollo over the high ground. And then it was like, oh my gosh, Salt and Enough. They're full HP. They haven't been in the mix. That's kind of been happening over the past minute. And now they're going to be the team that's going to be able to just go ahead, take the higher ground pretty much uncontested. Again, just on the back foot of the time, and you can see the cleanup for the rest of the lobby. Once the low ground starts to get chaotic, they all start to kind of make it easier for the guys up on high ground to take them out on the low ground, because they're all just so low HP after going head to head. I mean, this is crazy. We kind of went over, what was it, like 7 duos at the start of the show. We were like, dude, listen, all of these guys have to make it the EWC finals. I mean, like, they just have to. There's so many big names. I Am Enough and Salt were not a part of those 7, and man, I'm disappointed in us. How did we not have these guys up there?
Dude, high ground is such like a that's like a skill. Like, it's like a skill that you master. And to watch like Pete and Pollo go up against Queasy on height, like, and then all of that kind of devolved so quickly and went awry. And then these guys again are just like, hey, this is the perfect time. Let's take height. And they get a back-to-back with 9 elims. Oh boy, guys. These standings look crazy, and we're going to see them after this break, okay? All right, don't go anywhere. We got to talk about some things. We'll see you right after this.
coming back. Yeah, I'm bouncing back. Yeah, I'm bouncing back. I keep coming back. I can't hold it back. Yeah, I'm bouncing back. It's just a mission. I do them in my sleep, no commission. I like a side quest of opposition with surgical precision. They make losing their tradition. Yeah, they talk and they talk, but what they say to me, I'm chewing it all, straight in my jaw. The way that I hurt you to think, I'm building a wall, 90s tall between you and me. I'm out of space, you're out of peace. It's a different game when I'm out of your league. Say you want it all, if you want it all, make a move, don't stop and wonder. Gotta take it out, 'cause I want it all. No, I stumble, I'll keep bouncing back. Take your gap, take your step, take a step, 'cause I've been back. Oh, just like that, I beat you in, crank up back to back. Oh, just like that, I see a dub in my future stats. Oh, I know a place you can go, the doghouse outside my massive abode. It's lovely, it's cushy, and sometimes it's cold. Now sit and watch me get this gold. Oh, I want it all. I'll bounce back. I just want it all. I just want it all. I'll bounce. I'll bounce back. Said you want it all, but you want it all. Said you want it all. I'll bounce back. Said you want it all, but you want it all. I can have it all. If you knock me down, I won't feel the fall. I just got back up. I'll bounce back. I just want it all. I just want it all. I'll keep bouncing. Yeah, I'm bouncing back. Yeah, I'm bouncing back. I keep coming back. I can't hold it back. Yeah, I'm bouncing back. I keep coming back. Yeah, I'm bouncing back. I can't hold it back. Yeah, I'm bouncing back. I keep coming back.
Fortnite fam, welcome back to the RES. If there's one thing I've learned today, it's that if you ever have a problem, just talk to Blake beforehand, and the problem will be solved, because I Am Enough and Salt got themselves back-to-back victory royales. They have 192 points, and if we bring up the leaderboard, they're currently in first place. So again, if you have a problem, contact Blake. He'll get it
Damn.
resolved for you. What's crazy
Okay.
is they are looking to earn themselves a spot
Buddha.
on the battle bus heading to EWC. 3 games in, Viv. This is looking pretty good.
Yeah, right now
Anyone?
we're kind of entering that territory. Okay,
Anyone-
can these guys kind of keep up the momentum? Obviously, we've seen how
Lena
chaotic
name?
high ground
Oh.
has been. I don't know,
It's
man. It would
too
be
soon.
crazy to kind of see them continuously go for high ground and be able to maintain these kind of consistent placements that they are, pulling off right now. Acorn and Bolts, though, still maintaining their second place right now, 158 points. Obviously, they are only 4 points ahead of Josh and Riley, but if you do take a look at the next unqualified team in Booga and Braids, they do have a pretty big lead over those guys. So Acorn and Bolts feeling pretty comfortable as it currently stands.
Yeah, and that was actually their worst performing game, but it was still a good game because they're getting those eliminations. With 7 eliminations that game, that keeps them into the second place. Yeah, they're going crazy.
It's kind of weird, right? Like, you say that's like their worst game, and you're right. Like, their worst game is a 10th place with 7 elims? Okay, Acorn and Bolts, okay. But as our good friend Vivid called out, obviously, Josh, Yamzo, they've got themselves a quality little crown. They're good to go. 1 spot down. The lion roars once again as Booga Braids. They climb that leaderboard, 126th place. Or points, rather. They have a 3rd place. There it is. You found it. With 4 eliminations. So these guys are looking to make that run. And I think what's interesting here, Viv, is we got a few duos that have already qualified around them, right? So as long as we keep some of these players around us, we could see a qualifying spot, right? Even if a duo that's qualified goes above us, hey, that spot's rolling back down to us.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, obviously the leaderboard says they only went up 3 placements from how well they did that game. But if we actually take a look about how many places they jumped up from game number 1, they were in dead last place. So these last couple of games have been huge for the duo, and excited to see if they can kind of continue up this upward trajectory that they're on.
Yeah, they were kind of under the radar after game 1, and after getting back-to-back 3rd places, that's super consistent. And if they keep this up, like, they're just only going to go up. And like Zeke said, with people already qualified at the top of the leaderboard, that spot's going to drop down. So they don't need to get second place. They just need to stay around those teams already qualified to secure that spot to the EWC.
Oh, man. What a time to be alive. We want to watch more Fortnite. So, Casters, back over to you.
You know, one thing is for certain, Monster. We've seen it in Qualifier 1, Qualifier 2, Qualifier 3, and I'm sure we're going to see it here again today. When you're that high up on the leaderboard and you need to qualify in such few spots, sometimes you just put a target on your back.
Yeah, most definitely. And as they only have a 40-point lead over the rest of the lobby, we're just going to have to see if it can hold up.
Almost here. Into the halfway point, the final game before it actually happens, and immediately you see it on screen. Mason taking down Peterbot. Elite Armory, where only 2 teams were supposed to land, becoming more and more contested. And you got to imagine why. Probably a hot drop. You can instantly get 10 toes down and try to go to work. Acorn even going down. So Noxy and Mason getting 2 early game eliminations here.
Yeah, this is kind of crazy. Muzz and Sphinx have almost maintained the consistency as the most dynamic duo in the early game this time. Both deciding to come to the armory. It's going to backfire a little bit there as Sphinx unfortunately gets taken down. But Acorn and Bolts have played exceptional early game Fortnite so far. But, you know, my question, though, starts to aim towards Salt in enough here. Just a little bit. Like, I am very curious to see if they can maintain not this winning pace they've set themselves on, right? That's so unrealistic. However, consistency. Can they now do enough to just remain in the lead and not throw away the 40 or 50 point buffer that they have between them and everyone else?
Yeah, they were able to pick up a good number of eliminations, but the biggest difference is you see Mason and Noxy kind of going on the hunt, finding their eliminations. Enough and Salt just kind of let the game naturally play itself out. If they get an elim, if they get an elim, if they don't, they don't. Either way, those back-to-back wins helping for sure. Threats just hiding on the outskirts. This is somewhere where he did land initially, far away from his teammate Visuals, who already went down so far in this game. So Threats has a lot of pressure on himself here to try to stay alive, and that's why you're seeing him try to shockwave away from the opposition.
Yeah, doesn't want to take an unnecessary 1v2 here and give away the nice loadout he's managed to kind of piecemeal together here off the contested drops. I was going to say, Chimp and 20, though, might be waiting for the pickup there. We'll pay attention to the feed. Braids, Booga on the other side. Or Zeke say it best. Booga already starting to make his comeback story be known here. Game 1, not exactly the performance they were looking to secure, but since then they have trended upwards very strongly, throwing themselves straight into the conversation here and now. And essentially, they're the next team up that's behind Acorn.
Just need one good game here to really change the tide, start to build that confidence and momentum, just like Jack and Boji. Even though they're disengaging out of this fight here, we've seen them in the early game get a couple of eliminations. We've seen them kind of in the mid game as well. But yeah, exactly what you said. They get separated. Shockwave kind of puts them in 2 different directions. Boji, if he gets caught out here, you see Agers, 20, Chimp. People spot out a solo, they intend to go.
Yeah, Jack unfortunately said Boji flying in the wrong direction there. He was a little too hasty. The way he played those shockwaves out, trying to get away from the pressure. 20 gets caught by Agers there off to the side. Agers didn't even have a full HP bar there, so that siphon very much welcome for him. Chimp's already long gone. He's probably confused as to what happened. They were hoping that drop down for quite some time there, and even Chimp seems to have fallen a bit behind here in the early game, so not exactly the game they wanted.
Agers doing exactly what he was doing in that last qualifier. Barely missed out on getting that spot secured, but it was he who was the one hunting around for these early game eliminations. And Ritual's the one that's really trying to buy him time just in case he does go down. And you kind of saw that first elimination in the distance. Hunting rifle being put to use. 20 gets hunted down. That goes his 2nd elimination here, back to back, as he picks up his 4th overall. Agers right now is being the catalyst of if him and Ritual are going to be able to make it to EWC.
Yeah, it was kind of interesting because Ritual was down for a second there. So whatever was going on, whatever Ritual was playing that game out, clearly ended up backfiring there. But jumping over to Queasy and Scare, this is some exciting play we've put on screen for these two here. Queasy really forcing the high ground plays. Like I talked about, I made the call last game. All I can think of is he just can't put his ego aside. He can't help himself. He just wanted to fight for high ground. and try to go for the win, but that ended up being the downfall for them. Now, though, everyone's playing the Storm here pretty, again, consistently game after game. There's really no rush in this type of format here.
And you see Peterbot and Poyo using the launch pad, just trying to find anybody out. That's why Queasy's scared, hidden. Rise, though, along with Curly, end up in a big scuffle against Booga and Braids here. A little bit of a 2v2, but you see Shockwave's coming out. Braids is going to go down.
Oh, no.
Booga,
Oh,
3
no.
HP, forced to stay alive, and Curly's already hunting, and he has the mythic Iron Pump. One shot, even at full health, he'll go down, but Booga doing his best, hiding behind a rock to buy time. And you see, that's why he's not popping the med kits. Doesn't want to give over any audio visuals until he knows Braids is back.
Yeah, this is crazy because look, Rise is right behind him, but Braids is coming in from the sky there. That could have went either way, but Curly had no idea he was behind the rock. He would have thought that Booga might have went to the bush in front of him instead. In the end, though, Booga plays just sneaky enough to stay alive and in the game. But look at this. No, Braids gets caught out here. Booga has to hide once again here and buy himself a little bit of time.
Yeah, it's just a very, very unfortunate. We saw Braids kind of reboot, come back down, and then in the distance, Cold and Rapid hears everything. It's like a giant rift in the sky when you do reboot, giving away not only your position, but approximate location of where your teammate is at that does stay alive, as Peterbot just trying to bleed through those builds. He has the Mammoth, but you can see less than 10 shots left, and that's why he's holding down that Mythic Harbinger SMG to try to bleed through some of these builds as quick as possible. But this is where it gets a little tricky. Peterbot and Poyo right now don't have a clear fight against Dolzier and Tyler, so the longer they stay here, the better chances of getting third-partied are going to be real. Wow.
Like this. Look at the pressure coming in here. Peterbot, Poyo jumping down. Higgs curve set on the back foot, but they're defending just well. Already forced to just crank it out for a second there. Higgs puts up just enough defense. Now finds a new angle back onto Peterbot there and making them second guess this fight here. Peterbot and Poyo are actually in a desperate situation when it comes to material. So this is going to go all the way through to the end here. And they find Curve. So just as I'm trying to set the stakes here that they need to finish this fight, they end up getting one of the two.
Yeah, that was a fight right there where you see Peterbot with the 3-weapon loadout. He only had 4 slices of pizza. That does not get you full HP, and depending on how much damage you take to the shield, it doesn't heal you up all the way either. So that was a must-win situation.
Only want to kill people.
Back in the game, fourth zone. This is where it becomes a very, very tricky situation. Not only for Peterbot and Poyo going on the hunt, but for anybody else that's on the receiving end of shots like this, because you don't want to go down. 2 more zones are going to complete, and then reboots will turn off. Depending on where you're at, might not be the best position, but Curve was able to get the knock onto Peterbot. Luckily for him, Poyo's there to save the day.
Definitely looking pretty good here. They're already at 4 eliminations, now max material, whereas before they didn't quite have any of that to work with. Let's take a look at this though. There's a lot going on here on the map. Meanwhile, Cold and Rapid continuing to heat up here as well. They hunt down Braids. Dude, Braids just can't catch a break. He just keeps coming back and then getting finished back to back over and over.
Even Noxy getting in the mix right now, picking up elimination, which is huge because Mason's not in the game right now. He's stuck on reboot with the knock, the elim. He's just getting him back in the game a little bit faster. As Peterbot and Poyo still lounging around trying to figure out where he's at, but Poyo takes a surprise shot. HP going right out the window. He's going to stop for the med kit, knowing he has a lot of space between him and Higgs, and it doesn't feel like Higgs is currently looking to get aggressive. Peterbot waiting just outside of the zone. I have to imagine he's hunting down Curve because you can see in the minimap he's trying to close that distance. 2 separate 1v1s going down between Peterbot and Poyo, and then Higgs and Curve.
So yeah, it's gonna
Co-8 life right now.
Again, fight back onto Curve. They've already done it once. It's going to give him all the confidence to be able to do it again here. Curve's got a huge challenge set ahead of him. It's exactly where Peterbot wants him to be here. No shield, back against the wall. Teammate comes in to back him up, and they're just farming for points at this point in time. That puts him at 5 elims now. Not too bad.
Still playing a little catch-up, playing to their reputation as well as Cold and Rapid. You saw them running around the map here in the first couple of zones, but as we get closer and closer to reboots turning off, you see their aggression slow down just a little bit. Obviously, if there's opportunities that they capitalize on them, they will take them. But in terms of hunting down players, especially ones that are freshly rebooted, it's taking a back seat for now. With only 1 elimination here, Cold and Rapid are looking to find these later on. Their loadouts looking stacked outside of maybe upgrading that more fight Sentinel pump.
Well, see how it's going to play out. Again, this is game number 4 here, so we're really starting to heat up. We're getting to the deep water of the event here. Ritual Agers back at it onto Chimpin 20. Chimpin 20 also couldn't catch quite the break, but look at this. Agers and Ritual are on a heater right now. 7 elims, making up so much points that they missed out on throughout their overall performances. This is really pushing them way up the standings here now, and I mean, honestly, putting them in contention for the qualification spot.
Yeah, honestly, coming into this, we talked about like Peterbot's 60 eliminations. Right behind him was Agers, though, with 37. It's just the consistency for Agers and Ritual throughout the Reload Elite Series qualifiers. 9th, 13th, 6th. The closest one coming in qualifier 3. And this one being the last chance to qualify has really put everybody off the edge of their seats. But looking at the loadout here, Rise Curly, this has to be a game you capitalize on them. You have the gold hunting rifle. You have the mythic iron pump, which one-shots anybody at full shields. So you really have to make these moments here count to try to catch up.
Looking for the big shot here. Doesn't quite get it lined up there. But they're one of the first to get to the zone. Looking at the material count for Curly, actually, this is looking pretty desperate. They're going to need to do something big here if they want to push for in-game. They're not the only ones. Higgs, as well, is somewhat in the same boat here, as we've already seen how Curve and Higgs have to fight their way all this time through the storm line here.
Hear the countdown coming in. Reboots will officially be turned off, so no second chances back into this game. And I do like the overall positioning, though, for not only Threats in his duo, but Higgs and Curve as well, far away from everybody else. Now that the zone does pull towards the north, you got to watch out for the different elevations that are in the next zone, but they have so much time so that maybe they can use to either land damage on teams or rotate late because they have the Flowberry Fizz as well. And if you look at the bandage in the item slot, not maxed out on materials, Higgs and Curve are looking for any opportunity they can get.
And opportunities might just arise here. You never really know. They do have the favorite kind of zone pull here, so that's one little thing that's going to save them a little bit of pressure. Rise and Curly still looking for that miracle shot with the sniper rifle here, but nothing quite revealing itself. Comes the setup though. There can be Flowberry Fizz with the shockwave here shortly. There they go. Down and off the side of the mountain here, right onto the heads of Cold, and talk about that miracle shot. Cold actually gets clipped with one big tag right there. No follow-up though. Instead, pressure from above from the other teams here looking down.
A little bit of a warning shot there from Curly. I like what the teams are doing, pressuring, especially since Agers tried to go on the offensive. But as soon as that hunting rifle came out, Noxie didn't peek again. You say, you know what? You can have it. You positioned well. We don't need to be taking these risks. But as it stands, as of now, a new team. It might be 7th zone a little bit too early, but seems to be setting their eyes on that high ground. That's Threats and Visuals. And this is a team, they need a big game in order to stay in contention. They're about, I think, 70 or so points down from that second qualifier spot, even more so from that first place spot, so they really start to have to pick up the pace here.
Yeah, Visuals is going to be the team with the control of the high ground right now, alongside Threats there. Muzz and Sphinx have their positioning off to the eastern side of the zone. Bolts, Acorn going for the high ground. Kind of launch pad play up just to render out, get the rotate here. Save up on some material here, but so does the rest of the lobby. This is the first time we see Peterbot and Boy actually using the strategy as well here. Just kind of following the trend right now. Meanwhile, on the low ground, Rapid actually falls a little bit early there. Cold by himself, and we're past the reboot zone. So this is it. You fall now, you're out the game permanently here. And this is all onto the shoulders of Cold here by himself now, Jacob.
And he does have the dualies, a little bit of a slow effect right there. Trying to land the shots, pushing Northern Caliper out. Doesn't really have a ton of extra shields outside of the pizza, and that one's almost going to be used instantly. On the other side, though, Booga and Braid looking to get aggressive for themselves. A whole box of pizza they don't want to let go to waste or get stolen away. But as everybody comes down from that launch pad, it looks like Acorn and Bolts might be the new team that is trying to poise themselves for the high ground. But they're a team that likes to steal it away, not necessarily hold it all the way through.
Look at this. Peterbot and Pollo going once again for the ultimate height as well. They're probably trying to set themselves up for a nice high ground play for a win too. No big points earned on the placement categories for Peterbot and Pollo just yet.
Well,
Meanwhile, Agers and Rituals still sitting at 7 eliminations, but that's just based off of all that early
number one
game
team die.
consistency they managed to
I
find.
missed that.
Now it's essentially them just trying to pass up Booga and Braids. You see everybody still using those launch pads to
And
their advantage, and more so here than ever. It's going off the side of the mountain, the different elevation changes, and I think teams like Peterbot and Pollo are taking notice. We can take high ground early, we can try to hold on to it, but so many teams begin to shoot up and try to contest it. It may not necessarily be the best spot as Curly loses Rise. I should say the other way around. He's going to be stuck by himself down low, no extra shield, just a med kit in his back pocket with very little builds to work with. Luckily though, Ager's going down, top 14 teams, so at least placement points are starting to flow in.
I like it though. Look at this. Just going for a nice little heal off there, buying himself a little bit of time. Threats, visuals, give up the high ground, go for the super pad as well.
Yep, no one up high
Keep in
gun.
mind, they were the team that were completely
Peterbot.
situated to hold it as well.
Peterbot. I
Look
mean,
at this,
Puta.
Booga, Braids go up. They're trying to fight Neo and Noisy for it. No real resistance there, so they'll be able to kind of base down here safely.
Only a
but
bomb mat.
Booga's only got 5 mats, so what are they going to do with that? They'll just have to fight for a refresh here shortly. Trying to find some fresh builds. They end up boxing someone out. It's actually Threats who comes down, but no, he misses the tag that matters most there, Jacob. And then Peterbot, Pollo, they time it perfectly as well. Remember, they were one of the few teams floating up too, so just like that, no contestation for them up top, and it's all theirs.
Yeah, I'm not sure how many teams even have the resources to try to fly up. They changed the strategy, and so far it seems to be working out. Bolt's trying to hit a late pad. Braids trying to hit a late shot.
Yeah.
Gets the down onto Josh.
No,
Yamso
no.
still floating around, but Braids is not able to reap any of that reward. Only the Siphon, 0 builds. Muzz and Sphinx holding the other side out, and not only has the Mythic, the rocket launcher to watch out for. The only thing they're lacking in their inventory is a shockwave to get up.
Yeah, they've done a really good job of making every single end game so far consistently here, especially when they start playing into low ground. They tend to go a lot better. But look at this, Queasy, of course, and Scare here coming up. RPG to the high ground.
But
Then they
still on high
rocket Pollo and
ground.
Peterbot
Yep.
off to the side. They couldn't quite capitalize to turn it into some prime positioning, but they are disrupting them nonetheless. Meanwhile, Acorn just waiting this one out here. Top 7 now. He's trying to make his way through to a little bit more placement points there. He can't really afford to play with the Storm here. Meanwhile, Peterbot Pollo putting pressure down low. They're already at 7, make that 8 elims. Can we see 9 here shortly?
9 kill.
Threats barely escaping down below. Acorn as well, the next in line. He gets targeted out by Tyler. Picks up the elimination, not really able to get the mats. He's left with absolutely nothing to his name, but he turns around. That's a big shot onto Threats, but Threats finishes that fight. His 3rd elimination of the game, barely picking up scraps, and those are going right out the window, melted by high ground. Peterbot and Pollo, well, I say that loosely because now Pollo's left by himself, a solo. There's only one duo down below and another solo in his path.
Yeah, it's Neo and Noisy, man. They've done such a good job playing as a duo and especially fighting side by side. I'm really surprised to see these different teams kind of come up and make themselves known here, but it's all up to Pollo. We've seen him do crazier things in the past here. Unfortunately, he couldn't quite time the shotgun shot there, so kind of forced into defensive high ground reposition there, but Neo falls to the zone. Pollo takes full advantage of that, will be able to get the finish, and then the zone does the rest, and he does it once again almost effortlessly as we're just trying to set this stage up for what's possible there, Jacob.
Clutches since the FNCS
Yeah,
Summit land in a
yeah,
solo
that
situation. Pollo brings his
miss
total
on
to 3 against
why.
Neo and Noisy, even with Peterbot down, saying,
Wow.
I have the crown now, kid. Peterbot and Pollo
Puto,
win
do
game
the
4
thing.
before halftime.
2-1-1. Son 1.
Oh my God! What is? Vivid.
Bro.
Vivid, why does this always happen?
Why does this?
Yeah.
It always happens this way, right? You know, Peterbot, Pollo, we're so jokey. Zeke, we're hanging out. Oh, we missed game 1. Hee hee. Oh, just kidding. We come back and win game 4. And off a solo clutch, Vivid. I can't believe it's happening.
Listen, Jacob kind of called it out, but Pollo right now, I mean, Peterbot and Pollo kind of rolls off the tongue, but I feel like Pollo in 1v2s is also starting to roll off the tongue because this guy can just not stop winning them as of recent, right? Summit, he went absolutely crazy here in the RES. He's going absolutely crazy. He got, by the way, a huge assist from the Storm on this 1v2, but again, still kind of pulls it off. Great effort. I mean, yeah, and that's what makes it interesting, right? Like, is that you can never count these two out.
You cannot count them out. And Pollo with 7 eliminations, looking absolutely primed up after that Summit performance that we saw just a couple weeks ago, and now this. And I think this is a prime example of what this new piece of party is doing to the meta, because Neo and Noisy, this is the second 1v2 they've lost now, but was it really a 1v2? Pollo just going absolutely insane, Zeke.
Oh my gosh, how do they do this every time? It's fine, right? Like, what's interesting here is that was the halfway point. That was game 4. So
Yeah.
we've got 4 more games to make more things happen. It's fine, but now Peterbot and Pollo are firing on all cylinders. So for the back half is going to continue to get more and more crazy. With that, where do they find themselves on the leaderboard? We find out after this break. When we return, we break down more of what we saw from that game. We'll see you soon.